Hello, it is May 18th, 2025, and we're going on an adventure to Erie, Pennsylvania. For you history and sailing buffs, we are first going to the Erie Maritime Museum. This state-run museum is the home of the recreated US Brig Niagra. The Niagara was the flagship of Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry during the War of 1812. The ship has been restored several times, removing most of the original material on the ship. The museum contains a number of exhibits on the Niagara, from the ship itself to general information about sailing in the 1800s and the War of 1812. Specifically on the War of 1812, we can see that one of the main reasons was a trade war between the United States against France and Britain. I'm sure that trade issues are well behind us at this point, and this is not relevant at all to recent events. Because of the importance of the Battle of Lake Erie in the War of 1812, there is a full exhibit on both the US and British ships that fought. The ships that fought were small ships suited for the inland waterways of North America, not large ocean-going ships of the line. Walking up the ramp here, we see what the side of the Niagara would have looked like in the 1800s. The inside of the ship has a recreation as well, showing how the cannons would have looked like on the Niagara. A full-size replica of the mast of the ship is inside the museum, reaching up nearly to the ceiling. The Niagara has been restored with new material several times, leading to a question of if it is the same ship that Perry sailed on, or if it's a completely different ship. I suppose it's time to take a look at the ship itself and see if it is a ship of thesis or not, but where's the ship? As it turns out, the ship was recently sailed to Maine in order to complete a $5 million restoration that is scheduled to be completed in 2026 for the 250th celebration of the United States. This begs the question, if a ship is no longer in home port, is it still a ship of thesis? If you want to become a sailor, feel free to try your hand at tying knots with the example ropes. Turns out this is pretty hard to do when the diagram does not look like the example ropes and you try to do it with only one hand. The upper part of the museum has more boat exhibits as well. As we head towards the rear of the museum to take the elevator up, we pass by an old diving suit and other equipment. Nearby, there's also a diving helmet of a different design that was discovered in Presque Isle Bay in the 1970s. According to the museum, this style of helmet would have been well suited for use in the shallow waters of Presque Isle Bay, perhaps during a salvage operation. As we get to the upper level, we find an ice boat displayed. This style of boat is common in the Presque Isle Bay in the winter when the bay has frozen over. This upper level also contains information on the Michigan/Wolverine, a side-wheeled paddle boat that was used for nearly 80 years as a patrol boat on the Great Lakes. Moving on from the Maritime Museum, we walk a few minutes to Dobbin's Landing and the Bicentennial Tower. This public dock is named for Daniel Dobbins, a sailing master in the U.S. Navy who fought in the War of 1812 and helped to build the small fleet of ships in Erie that were used during the war. Bicentennial Tower is a prominent tower providing a view of the waterfront. The price to go up is $6. Given the somewhat poor weather today, we will not be going up the elevator to the top. The shoreline on the other side of the Bray is Presque Isle State Park. Let's go see what's there next. Just before we get to the park, we stop by the Tom Ridge Environmental Center at Presque Isle State Park, which contains the visitor center of the park. This is named after Tom Ridge, who worked at the park before he became governor. If the name sounds familiar to you, this is the same Tom Ridge who eventually became the first Secretary of Homeland Security. Since we have arrived at the center just before it closes, we have just enough time to climb the observation tower and view the area. From here we can also see the next-door amusement park getting ready for the summer season. Resisting the urge to amuse ourselves, we must press on into the park itself. The park is quite large, with plenty of beaches scattered along its length. Due to the location of the island, it helps to form a perfect harbor, which is part of why the city of Erie was founded in the area originally. Behind me is the Presque Isle Lighthouse. Dating to 1872, this lighthouse is still in use today by the US Coast Guard in order to provide navigation beacons to people. Today it's quite windy out here. The beach is quite nice. Well, it's about 55 degrees Fahrenheit here, so it'd be a lot nicer if it was about 20 degrees warmer, I think. After taking a look at the lighthouse and having the camera blow over, it's time to visit the end of the isle and visit Gull Point. Almost a rather desolate looking area here. This area is now a bird sanctuary, providing an area for birds to both rest during migrations as well as breeding grounds for certain species. Taking the Gull Point Trail, we see and hear several different types of birds. Once we get to the east, there are a few platforms for birding. The trails are quite sandy, as you can see by the amount of sand that falls out of my shoes when I take them off. And that's it for Erie, a large city with several interesting opportunities for recreation and history. Join me for the next part of the adventure, visiting parts of Ohio.